We've seen you hopeless, scared, trapped. We've seen you devastated. But we've always seen you sacrifice and put others first. We've seen you love from a distance and make a difference to so many lives, overcoming all challenges, because that's who you are. It's part of your indelible DNA. It's the one thing that unites us, our spirit, our ability to rise, reach out, to love, to care. Thank you for playing your part and impacting our people's lives, because this is what makes us South African. We see you.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the gaming session today with the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival. We're really excited about this partnership with Spacesalad, and we are inviting the team to share with us all the wonderful work that they are doing. So much innovation in the sector. We're really, really very proud of what they have accomplished up to this point. We just want to have a shout out for Play Your Part, Brand South Africa. We will have come on board to make sure that all of us as South Africans do play our part. And as the gamers in South Africa, as we know, this is probably 1% of that population of people who could be really high earners. So I'm handing over to you, Tabo and team. Tell us, show us, create some magic. Welcome.
Woo! Thank you so much for that intro, Auntie Ghost. I don't know if I can match that energy, but I'll try. Let me share my screen. And just for the guys that are watching, so I just did my research yesterday. So it went up to 4%. So from 1% to 4% of Black people in the gaming industry. So it's growing, which I'm really proud of. Let me share my sound and share my screen. This is the one, right? Okay, cool. Can you guys see? Cool. Thank you. All right, cool. Here goes. So, as Fidoz has introduced me, I'm Tabo Tulu, and I'm not alone. I'm with Spacesalad Studios, which is a multi-award-winning gaming studio based here in Johannesburg, South Africa. And today my presentation is going to be really special and unique because I'll be presenting it like it's a game, but also teaching you guys how to make a game, but also like explaining what we do. So just take it as a game itself. I worked really hard on the interface as well. So today I'll be covering about Spacesalad Studios, what is game design, what inspires our games, the artistic expression in the 2D work that we do, artistic expression in the sound design, the business part of the industry, and then leave it up for Q&A. So this is really important if you're deciding to start your own gaming studio. You should have a quote. I think you should have a quote for any business that you decide to start. But with us, it's really special because these change every often, maybe every hour or every day, depending on how often we meet up. But play is our brain's favorite way of learning by Diane Ackerman or Ackerman, depending on which part of the world you're from. And it's really important. And it's the gist of my whole presentation. So about us, in 2019, a group of artists were brought in by a satellite company to create games for the future. From that single point, the Big Bang happened and Spacesalad Studios was born, creating planets of our own and educating the population while having fun. So that's our genesis. We started out like a Big Bang Theory, hence the name. And like with any game you're going to play or any game that you've played, you have to create a character. So fortunately for me, I found these main characters that you see right here, these cute, adorable faces. You might not recognize them now, but they're sitting in with me. So it's me, of course. We have Tabile, who's our lead designer. We have Neo, who's our lead artist. We have Minentle, who's our sound designer, and he also handles some of the business stuff as well. And then we have Wandile, who's our sound designer. And these are the main characters in this game that we're playing called Spacesalad Studios. And what is game design? So before I go any further, I need to start with the boring stuff, the theory behind it, which is really important. So I'm just going to run through it quick. Game design specific, if I was to simplify it, it's these three parts, which is mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. Mechanics are your rules. So player has to get from A to B. Dynamics are everything that happens in between the game or the rules. And then aesthetics is basically what makes the game look nice and sound good as well. So these are the key things that you need to think of when you're making a game or consider. And then the skills that you need. So these are the three core skills that you need in the industry. Of course, you can make a game by yourself, like other indie game studios have done or individuals have done in the past. But these are the main core skills that you need to develop a game, just so that you don't burn out. And within these skills, there's more skills or more places you can branch out to within that discipline that you specialize in, which is really important because the bigger the team, the more work that you can do, the quality is better, etc. And then now you got your team. These are the programs that you'll need to get started because we're not making a game out of sticks and stones, right? So here are some of the software that you'll need to develop the game. Some you might be familiar with, some you might not. Some are free, some are paid for. And yeah, that brings me to the next point. So now that you have your team, you got your software, you got everything that you need. Now you need inspiration, a muse, something that you're going to build your game out of. And here at Spacesalad Studios, we've always taken our external environment as a muse of inspiration. For example, our first ever game that we built together, which is called Dopper Dash. As you can see at the bottom right corner of the screen, I have a picture of an actual street surface, or how they would like to be called, reclaimers. And on the right side, we have a 3D model of the street surface. So we've gamified what these guys do for a living. If you're not familiar with these guys, these guys are responsible for 90% of recycling that happens in South Africa, which is quite big. And this is like one of our biggest games, as you can see with the accolades. We're even winning awards outside of the gaming industry, which we're really proud of. But just to go back, we took our inspiration from these guys and we created a game to just show appreciation for what they do and also teach people about recycling and waste management. Second game we've created is called Hot Buns, which is a game about twerking and butts. So don't get me wrong, a lot of people might think twerking in the way the modern world has shown it, but this is actually describing the African origins of twerking, which is a spiritual dance, which originates from West Africa, but also people from like the Tsonga tribe. They also do this with the Shebelani. And the reason why we created this game, one of the reasons why we created this game was to push body positivity as well as sex education. And these are one of the biggest topics right now that you might find on TV if you've watched Big Mouth. That's an animated series about sex education. A lot of people are trying to find ways to educate people or young people about their changing bodies and how they grow. So this was inspired by that. And then the third game is our zombie game. one of the first zombie apocalypse in Africa. I might be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you basically play the role of a taxi driver, and inspired by Java's song Umama, you know, you gotta go out there and go and rescue your mom from being eaten by zombies. So we've taken the game. This game was created during COVID, so you know, like a classical story of a zombie apocalypse where angry pharmaceutical company turns people into zombies, and you know, the whole zombie apocalypse comes through. So that's the thinking or the muse behind this game. And then the last game is called Pooh Weekly, which is Point of Order. And this game is inspired by local politics. And yeah, with this game, we've been looking around us. There's been a lot of frustration with how the country's been operating because of these figures. And we decided, how about we bring in, how do we encourage the youth to get more active and, you know, participate in politics? And this was like the answer to it, where you pick your favorite character, you create a coalition, and then you provide service delivery. If only it was this easy in real life. But moving on. And then we have two of our children's games, our Bundle of Joy, something that we're really proud of. These are games that we've collaborated with other studios. On the left is Raps. We collaborated with Alchemaze. And on the right is Wazi's World, which we collaborated with African Animation. And in a nutshell, these are dress-up games that educate little girls about basically teaching them how to love themselves, how to take care of themselves, you know, and also the most important thing, the Afro. There aren't a lot of girls or children's games that cater to the demographic. So we were really excited when we were approached to take a shot at this game. And you can see it's a big contrast from what we usually make, but we really had fun making these games. Cool, so artistic expression in 2D. So now you got your inspiration. What next? So now you have to speak to your lead designer if you are not the lead designer, and you have to decide, okay, how do I bring these things to life? How do I bring these ideas to life? How do I visualize, or how do I help the viewer see what I'm trying to convey? And this is where you come in and you start doodling, you start drawing, you start creating worlds. Like I said, the Big Bang, we creating different planets. You start creating your own planets. How would this look? How would this be? How would Joburg look if there was a zombie apocalypse? You know, as you can see at the bottom, there's like a zombie chowing on a taxi seat. You know, here are some of the older or the first designs that didn't make it for Hot Buns, the cover. So this is where you start like visualizing, doodling, you know, messing around with a couple ideas until you get to the main idea. Here are some of the character designs as well. Some of the characters didn't make it in the final game. Yeah, but basically that's what you do. This is where you run free with your creativity, you know, run wild in your imagination until you get to the final product. So artistic expression in sound as well. So believe it or not, it works the same with sound, just as visual. So you might think, how's that possible? But we also tasked the sound designers to imagine a world where, like Bitopia, for example, which is where Hot Buns is based. You know, how do the animals interact? What sounds do they make? What ambient music do you make? What kind of music do they listen to? And then they go in and they do their own thing. They make the beats in their heads. You know, I don't know how they do it. I'm always fascinated by how amazing these people work, especially in the sound space. But I'm going to speak specifically about the Dopa Dash soundtrack, which was one of the first piano tracks to come on a game. And I'm just going to play. Sake, I'm not gonna play the whole song, but you guys can get the link. It's on Spotify, it's on all of these major streaming platforms. But it's basically, the song is about Dopa Dash and, you know, going out there, picking up the trash, you know, and having a good time. You know, we wanted our people, the people to play, who are playing the game, to also dance to the music, you know, and enjoy and have a good time. See how much time I have. Oh, I still have a lot of time, eh? And then the business side. So because, how can I put it? In the industry, usually when you start out as indies, and there's really no one that handles the business side until like a later stage. That's why I kept it at the end, but I think this is really important. This is probably the most important part of the studio just as much as it is creating the game, because with the business end, you need to understand who you're catering for, your target audience, the kind of marketing you'll be doing, the marketing, what you'll be selling, what kind of business model are you going for. All of those things are really important in developing your game, and they can also help with the creativity. And if you were to get any funding, that'll really help, because then you designate or you put it in point form or spreadsheets. Like spreadsheets and game designers don't go really well together, but it's really important because that's where you're going to be making your money, and that's how you're going to sustain your business in the industry. So yeah, here are some of the business models that you can find in the industry. I didn't mention all of them because these are the core three. There are a lot more that are coming up, but these are the ones that we're familiar with, and then we've tried to execute on our end. So the first one is free to play. And what free to play basically means is you go on your app store, and then you find the game. Boom, it's free. You download the game, and then you play the game, you start having fun, and then next thing you know, they're advertising stuff to you, advertising burgers, advertising soap. You're like, oh my God, I can't enjoy this game anymore. Charging you to get rid of the ads. So that's basically what happens in free to play in the market, is that you get the bit, or they allow you to download the game for free, but there's a catch because it's nothing for free. And then you're gonna have to watch ads, or you're gonna have to buy certain things in the game to make you skip a level if the level is too hard, or buy certain characters or skins, or what we call microtransactions, to make the game more fun and also to make it more unique to the player. The second one is a pretty new one. This has come with the rise of NFTs, or the blockchain as a whole, and it's called play to earn. So what happens in play to earn is players get paid for playing the game. Cool, right? Yeah, this is like, when I also first heard it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. There are like some constrictions and some limitations with this, which I will be going into detail now since I have so much time. But basically right now, with how the NFT market has taken the world by storm, with crypto and blockchain, a lot of people have their doubts about where crypto is going. A lot of people have been scammed. There's a lot of bad or misbehaving that's been happening right now in this specific field. So right now, especially in the gaming market, a lot of people are hesitant to work with you, especially if you like the organic gaming side, like with free to play or premium games. A lot of people will be hesitant to even work with you because of how, or the reputation this industry has developed. Not to say that it's not gonna work. It's just that right now it's a bit too early to do anything in this space, but hey, don't take my word for it. I always believe that you have to push the boundaries with whatever that you're doing, and you need to try your best to like capture the moment, and you need to position yourself in the right place at the right time so you can execute, because crypto is not going anywhere. However, right now to work on something like this might be risky. But back on how it works. So free to play to earn model is you're getting paid to earn. So for the amount of hours you spend on the game, the things that you collect, you can sell your microtransactions, or the characters that you create in the game for real money. And examples of it is Axie. Axie in South America is doing quite well right now, where a lot of people are living off of the game, and it's like a trading card game, almost like Pokemon. And then you get paid from buying and selling these Axies and breeding them as well. So that's really cool. I think it's a really good business model, especially for like developing countries like Africa, South America as well. Like I mentioned, it's working really well. Because looking at unemployment rates, looking at the poverty line, it'd be nice for a change to get money from, wasting your time, as what your parents say, for playing games. And lastly, we have the premium games. So premium games is, I guess, the genesis of the business model of gaming. Basically, you buy a copy of the game, whether it's online or in a physical store. You pay once and you keep the game forever. And these are the three models that you can use or you can visit as a game designer. Like I mentioned, this should have been part of inspiration as well, part of the Muse, because with this, you can have a clear understanding or a clear idea of, like I mentioned, who your target audience is, what are you willing to do within the game, because each one has its own pros and cons. Each one has its shortfalls and each one has its benefits. And gaming industry as a whole is quite big. It's like a multi-billion-dollar industry. Unfortunately, don't let those numbers fool you, because it's a pretty tough one. That's something that we've learned recently. And why I say this is important is once you've established this, it's easier for you to get closer to making the money, unlike developing it from an indie perspective or from a hobby list, because there are a lot of people who do this for hobby. There are a lot of people that do this for fun. But if you want to make money, then you need to change your direction and focus more on how do I make money, which is a lot of indie developers that are watching this might disagree, because, where's the soul in that and whatever. But, you don't get paid, or you don't eat exposure, or you don't eat from passion. So this is really important. And another thing to add, if you're going indie, the marketing that you need to do is really important. It's probably just as important as making the game, or even more. Why I say that is because there's a lot of games being dished out every year, every minute, every second. There's stats that can back up that point. But the reason why it's so important is no one knows who you are. No one knows where you're based. No one knows your game, and for you to expect people to play your game, you need to show them, you need to tell them about it, you need to make a lot of noise. And that's something that we've learned also as a studio. And I think that's why I've also left this for last, is to share our business experience within the industry itself. Is that we made our games, we called our friends, it was fun, they liked our games, we won a couple of awards, and then that was it. We didn't do any further marketing, any follow-ups, we didn't get any contact lists. Nothing like that, and that's something that we're realizing now when we're pitching these games and we're trying to go beyond our strengths and our talents and trying to understand the business markets. When you do pitch the game to like a publisher, for example, for you to get more for your game or retain a lot more, you need to show the numbers, or you need to show that you've been making a revenue from these games. And it's unfortunate that when you do approach a publisher with zero following, zero revenue, but a lot of success in terms of awards and whatever, it doesn't really put you in a good position. So that's why this is just as important. If you were to start a band of indie designers or indie developers, make sure that you include a business personnel in there to handle the day-to-day business, the admin, legal stuff, accounting stuff, because that's just as important, especially if you want to do it as a business. If you're doing it for fun, then definitely go crazy with ideas and all of that stuff. And yeah, that's that. I wanted to create more of a conversation. I don't know how many people will be online. Hopefully it's enough to answer or to ask me some questions for the team. But yeah, that brings the end to my presentation or the game.
Thank you so much, Thabo. I wonder if the rest of the team would like to talk to us as well. The people who are producing the sound, the audio, the music, is there somebody there who can talk to us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we are. Now, do you want to say something, Nantley?
Oh, no, I was just asking, do we just speak in terms of how the sound goes in Spacesalad Studios, how we get inspiration? So basically, Thabo got the gist of it. And I think just to add on to his point is that sound designing is not just creating a sound for anything and then plugging it into a game. As he mentioned, you have to then put yourself in these characters' shoes, in these characters' environment, and like picture in your ear like how their world would sound like. You know what I'm saying? So, and we've had challenges with me and Wendy, moving from a zombie game to a game about recycling to a game about twerking and farts and all that stuff, you know. But it is really exciting because then we get to understand on like how we can expand our skill, and it helps us in the future when now we creating a different concept. We are able to then easily conceptualize ideas around the world that we've created. But it's an awesome journey to be a sound designer, especially for Spacesalad Studios, because especially a team that inspires you to go beyond your talents, because then you get to look into the cracks of a situation, in terms of if you have a challenge portraying a sound in a game, you then start thinking critically to actually find an answer or find that unique sound that you need. It might be a bomb, a glass bomb, for example. And if you have challenges, I speak to Wandy most of the time, and then we conceptualize on things, and it makes it easier to then pull through. I don't know if Wandy, you have anything to say. But yeah.
You said it beautifully. Yeah, there's nothing to add to that. I think the only thing I can add is through all the trials and tribulation, we managed to still have fun and still make jokes.
Can we just ask Tabo to stop sharing his screen so that we can see everybody else? And then, Wandy, I know you're saying that he's gone through all of it, but it would be really interesting for us to know, as each one of you are individuals, there's something else that you bring. So what part of that music, of that sound, of that audio do you bring into the space? Please talk to us.
So I focus more on like soundtracks. So that's like another way of bringing emotion into the game, so I'll be making, like, for instance, with like the political game, we had to make like a very fast-paced, heavy, distorted soundtrack, and that adds to like the hype in the game, and it gives you a specific feeling when you're playing the game. Sometimes the speed of the game influences the speed of the song as well. So it's all about emotion and making the player feel something when you're playing the game. And sometimes that's difficult to achieve, but when it's easy, then I'm happy. Sometimes you can do it without looking at what has been designed by our lead designer. Sometimes I need to see what he's designed to infer the process for making music. So yeah, it's 50-50, but it's a good feeling when it comes together.
Is it possible, Tabo, for us to hear the music for that particular design? Any one of them, I suppose. The difference, as you're saying, it's such a different transition from going into something that's political to probably something like Wazi, which is a kiddies girls thing.
Yes, it should be. Let me ask my sound designers, our resident DJs, to set that up.
Okay, I'll play the song for the political game. I don't know how it's gonna work though. Will I have to share my screen?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to share your screen, and so that we can get the sound.
Okay.
And my question's going to be, where are the women, right? we still need more women in the sector. Okay, there we go.
Okay, can you guys see the screen? Okay, here's the short version with some extra vocals from Tabo. And then those are vocals from Inentle, our other sound designer. And it makes more sense when you hear the song while the visual's playing. I don't know if you can play the trailer, Tabo, if you have it anywhere near you. And then you see the gameplay. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I think let me play the trailers of the game because they have the sound and the visuals.
Yeah.
So let me just set that up.
But the last thing I just like to add in terms of the sound designing, it's not always you record one sound to actually get a specific sound. Sometimes you'll have to add sounds on top of sounds to create a different sound unique to that environment. And I think that's also another interesting thing about design, because it helps you think critically on what elements you need to mix with to end up with a specific solution to the problem. So yeah, that's another thing to think about. Yeah.
All right, let me share my screen. As you can see now.
Let's go. Let me see you move it. Let me see you shake it. Let me see you throw it. Let me see you buzz it. Let me see you move it. Let me see you shake it. Let me see you throw it. Let me see you buzz it. Let's go. Let me see you move it. Let me see you shake it.
That was Hot Buns. So it's got that trap, hip hop, what you probably hear when you're watching those kinds of videos. And then we have the zombie game.
Niggas are killing me.
And then we got the political game.
You monster.
Yeah, and then, okay, last but not least, this is Stop at Dash. Let me just move it a bit forward. So yeah, that's sound design. Let me stop sharing. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if there's any Q&As.
Thanks,
Check the room.
Tavo. So when, I mean, obviously, just when you listen to the sound, it is so diverse and you move from one genre to another. Where's the inspiration? What are you listening to? What's getting you excited?
Yo. Yeah, answer Natalie.
You can go.
Where do you even start? There's so much we listen to. But yeah, just a bit of everything. You know, when we had to make the soundtrack for Dopper Dash, which is the Amapiano music, we had to spend some time listening to that because I wasn't like too familiar with the music. So we had to spend some time to listen to that and understand it, break it down before we could start making music like that. And even with like when we started, we weren't as good as the song you heard just now. There was a lot of trial and error. But yeah, listen to everything. I don't even know how to answer the question. It's super diverse.
I think that's a skill that helps us the most, the fact that we're diverse. But I think also where I also draw inspiration from is like playing games and listening to their sounds, like how they incorporated some certain sounds, how they placed it, how each level has a different atmosphere and the sound helps it create it, you know. So there's a lot to get inspired by, but yeah, for me, it's games and listening to mostly hip hop. I would like it's very different. Hip hop, house, electronic. You know, Wendy and I have a music background, so that's why we listen to everything. But I think that kind of helps too, so for diversification, and yeah, and also play a lot of games, guys, because you can learn a lot from.
So Naya, what comes first, the design or the sound? So as the design.
It actually works like simultaneously, and I was actually shocked by what they had to say earlier. With we have like a lot of the same processes when it comes to like building worlds and how we think about them and how we work it out. But a lot of times as while they're busy working out how they're going to do the sounds and what sounds fit into that world, I also do it like from my side. I think I try to envision myself in that world. How would it be like, and how would it be? How some things would work and how some things would look, right? And I try to push it as far as I can from my side, but I always have some. I have to talk with the game designer, and I have to get like a feel of what they also have in mind and how they run it through and how they do it. So a lot of times we're working simultaneously with the sound guys, and we come and we merge at a certain point, and then once we're at that point, we basically have an understanding of how we're going to be, how we're doing things and what each other's vision is, and we just merge it going forward, and we just work from that point. Yeah.
Where do the ideas come from, Tabo? Where is it? Who decides this is a game, this is something we want to do? Where does that come from?
So we have like brainstorming sessions, and then, but most recently how we've been doing it was now everyone like comes up with an idea. We give them like a topic, and everyone comes up with an idea, and then we vote on which is the best idea, and then we start fleshing it out on what we're taking, what's nice about it, what we can add on. So that's how we've been like working instead of in terms of choosing the game or deciding what game we're going for. So it's like everyone is in it. We like to create like a place where because everyone is specializing in whatever that they're doing. So we like to give them freedom of expression and, you know, a choice to do whatever that they want. You know, there are occasions where we do have an idea, like with the Dopa game, when we first started, we had this idea because my piano was just coming, well, it wasn't coming out, but it was like, it was starting to blow up, you know, and, you know, we're like, okay, and we also made a GOM soundtrack as well. So those were two of the biggest genres that were coming out at the time. And we were like, okay, let's do it. Let's see how far we can push it. So yeah, usually that's how we work. We just randomize it, we get ideas, and then we see which one is the best one. And like I said, it's based on like experiences and what we see from the outside world. So we can never run out of content, or maybe we can.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting thing, isn't it? I think about being in South Africa or on the continent of Africa is that there is such a diversity of issues, of things, of politics. I mean, that you range in from, people collecting garbage, which is politically an issue. And then you also have the actual political genre around some of our leaders and leadership and issues that affect you. So I'd like to know, as young people in the sector, and as you said, it's moved from 1% to 4%, what are the challenges for gamers? Where do you see, by now, as you keep saying, this is a multi-million or billion-dollar industry, but where's the money? Where are we? Where are you as young people? What are the barriers? What are the opportunities? Let's start with you. Okay, go, Naya.
I think this is a topic that we've been having a lot. Or one of the points that I'm going to bring up is that there's a weird element, or like a weird nature about creating games in Africa and South Africa in general, is that there are a lot of factors that contribute to the careers that we choose, and there's this social economic things that are tied to, and finding people, especially people just like us, Black people, women who are in the space, and just trying to get them to work on games and just trying to get them to follow their passions. Like I said earlier, it's like passion doesn't really pay the bills, but it's what you need, and these are two things that are very hard to find in the right group of people, right? There's a lot of people with ideas. There's a lot of people with different narratives and culturally, because South Africa is such a big country, and culturally and everything else. It's just, there's so many different people that are available and people that want to come into the space, but it's sort of guarded off by resources. And a lot of the people that are in this community are people with privilege and all these other things. And the people that you want to bring into the space, we find it hard for us to bring them into the space like that, because we don't have some of the resources that would help sustain, would help like improve their lives while doing this thing, right? So for us, it's just one of our biggest challenges is just finding a way to bring in more people without them having to feed it financially, or without them having to like sacrifice a lot of things like finances and stuff like that. And it's something that we can take, and we're trying to help other people. Like, we can take the brunt force of it, and we're trying to find a way to mitigate all of these other things, just bring in more people and more disadvantaged people into the space. And it's just like one big challenge that we're currently facing, and finding ways to navigate it.
No, it's mainly it's a cost, it's a resource issue.
Yeah.
What would you say, Thabo? How has it been? I mean, you as Spacesalad have managed thus far to come together, to work together, to really be very creative. Where are the blockages?
So yeah, I think Nell said a lot. Like I can add on to what he's saying as well. But just on its resources, let me share my experiences, because I can't really speak on like the collective or the entire industry, because then I'll be lying. Data and stats could speak they can put a number on it, but we're still like 4%. We're still like a minority in the entire industry. The industry is quite big, and even like when you go to these game jams or these award ceremonies, they always speak about diversity. Same question you ask us, we get asked a lot. Like where are the women? Where are the people from the different communities? And like Neo said, it's more, first, it's a resource thing. We've been fortunate to navigate through or pass these barriers because of, I guess, firstly, we're doing it for fun, or firstly, we're fortunate enough to get a sponsor at the beginning. And then when the sponsor left, we were still finding ourselves, and, we weren't as experienced as we were. So we were focused on developing the team, the core of the team, and we weren't really focused on getting the money. And I think that's why getting the awards was coming so naturally. And that's what we were living off of, basically, winning the awards, getting sponsorships, getting grants, things that we didn't even try hard to get, unlike right now we're in the chapter of trying to sell the games ourselves, so that's one thing that we've been fortunate about, is that we never really focused too much on the money. We were more focusing on skills, developing our craft, working together as a team, and seeing how far that can get us. But as far as resources is concerned, yeah, that's a major problem. You find that, and like I said, we've been living off of grants and winning these competitions. Mind you, most of these competitions are international. Most of the grants that we're getting are international. So locally, we're not really getting that kind of support, because it's unfortunate, and it's a misconception that a lot of people have in the country, maybe throughout Africa. I don't know, but I can speak for myself. But usually, when they compare us or when they speak about in the industry, they put us with like film or animation, and they forget the coder. Like what about Tavi? Like he does the design. Like the user experience. Making a game is so important, because as the player, you're interacting with whatever we're giving you. Unlike animation, once it's animated, it's done. There's no take backs. There's no, unless you're gonna do a sequel, even with film. But that's the thing. When we do try and apply for grants this side, or we look for support, a lot of people don't understand, and they try and like take advantage of that, and they force us into like an animation space, and that's why we haven't really worked with anyone local. So that's why we also like, in this current position that we're in, we trying to show that we are capable as like the minority to be in this industry. We have accolades. We've shown that we can produce an international standard or quality of work. So that if we do sit in these rooms, the conversation is a lot different. Because a lot of people will say, yeah, it's white, it's white owned, whatever. Yeah, but there are people that are in the space, that are not white, that know what they're talking about, that have proven that they can do. So I think, yeah, that's where the conversation should be shifting right now. It's not that we don't have the skill or we don't have the people, because even like places like Vets, where we studied city varsity, there's a lot of institutions that just came from a campus jam right now. There's so many universities and colleges that are pushing game design because they can see, and they're finding a lot of money. Like the game jam that we were just at now was like the corporate level. I've never been to such an amazing game jam. They're funding so much money because they can see the potential. And that's where now the conversation is different. Now that's where you see a lot of white males or, white people or whatever. And you don't see a lot of us because A, no one wants to find it, or B, people are trying to like box us in, and no one is trying to have a conversation to start with. So, yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I think there are challenges around us making ourselves more visible, which is really important. Tabi, you've been sitting there without a picture and with your microphone off, just as Tab was talking about the code is hidden somewhere. Would you like to share something with us, Tabi?
I mean, if it's unfortunately my camera is not working. I don't know if that's going to be an issue.
Okay, no, not an issue at all. Just talk to us about what you do and why the space is so challenged.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I can just add on to the question you were already asking us, like the kind of challenges we're facing. I know with what we've been doing as of late, like one of the biggest challenges we've been facing here, especially as an indie game studio, is making it to market. A lot of the time when you're making these games, I mean, you spend a lot of time developing them. You end up feeling like they're your children in a sense. You'll keep trying to iterate until you feel it's perfect enough to release. And a lot of the time that can keep you stuck from actually reaching the point where it's ready to be shipped, which is one of the big challenges we face. And then one of the other things is, like, once you're ready to go to market, if you don't have a very good marketing strategy for your game so that people know about it, so that the word is out there, so that you can make your sales, the game is not going to do very well, which is one of the big challenges we're facing. Is that we have all these skills, art, sound, programming, even business dev on the side. But one of the most important fields of marketing is something we struggle with, which is, that's one of our biggest challenges in terms of like breaking into the market and getting all this money. So that's.
So I think we need to think about a solution. As we wrap up, we've got 7 minutes. I'm going to start with Wendy and then go around the room. Please tell me what do you think? If we had the best case scenario, what would that be?
The best case scenario would be to have money to hire someone to do our social media and marketing. Solution to that would be to go on YouTube, watch tutorials, learn that skill ourselves, like we did with the biz dev, like we do whenever we run into problems and we don't know how to solve them. Best case scenario, we have the money. Solution, we do the research and develop the skill ourselves.
Next, Neo.
Please repeat the question again.
I'm just kind of asking you what would be the best case scenario? What would be if everything was perfect?
If everything was perfect, you'd have a lot more heads like coming together to make the stories. They'd be a big collaborative process. South Africa, again, like I said earlier, is a pretty big country culturally. There's so many different stories to tell and so many different like things that could happen. And best case scenarios, if we just all come together and just do one big collaboration or multiple even, and a solution, I don't know. Just the skills development is the thing.
Okay.
I think for me, because the gaming industry in South Africa is really still in its beginning stages. I mean, one of the big headlines of gaming in South Africa is Free Lives, and then it's us, obviously. But so I think if education around gaming was accessible to everyone who wanted to try, even from people from the rural areas, people from the urban areas. I think if it was more accessible to those people, the skills and the ecosystem in South Africa would grow. Resources will then start growing as well, because now there's a market, there's an ecosystem for people to actually rely on this one thing that was once feared in South Africa. I think that's like best case scenario, when institutions for gaming could be made public, or to everyone who's willing to learn the skill to actually have fun in building their passions, and also learning life skills, monetary skills, building skills from what they've learned. So I think in best case scenario, that's how I view it. A booming industry in South Africa for games. Yeah.
Tavi, what would you say?
So I think, at least from a South African perspective, I think having some kind of platform that we could use just to help spread word about what we're doing, because a lot of the advantage that people have overseas is, being connected to a lot of bigger publishers that will push your work out there to a larger audience. It makes it a lot easier for them to reach people they never would, and get their game successful. So if there was some means for us to, even if it's just to touch the South African audience, an easier way for us to let them know what we're doing and the progress on our games, and when these things are released, we get more eyes on our product. I think that would be a huge help for a lot of studios starting out, because one of the biggest challenges is getting the word out there, letting people know what we're doing. But yeah.
So Tabo, I think what you have done together is quite phenomenal. And if you had the best playing field, what would it be?
Best playing field is having a role model, having the success story. I think to just sum it up, if we're gonna talk race or talk about anything, well, industry or African base or whatever you might want to bring up, I think if we just have a success story, that one plant or one seed that they've nurtured and they've grown, it's a product of people coming together. I think it's just adding what everyone else was saying, giving the platform, giving everyone putting their own together to just see this thing grow. I think that'll make a big difference, not only locally, but globally. Because a lot of people are trying that, especially a lot of people overseas. And it doesn't have that essence because now, it's like we're always being saved. And that's like the narrative. So why don't we do something about it? Why don't we create the platforms? Because we have the capacity. Just need that. Long story short, we just need a success story, the face of the industry that's making money, that shows that, for the young kids to say, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be like those guys, which we don't have currently.
Well, we're hoping you are those guys, isn't it?
And I watch the space. Stick around.
Well, thank you so much. I think this was really enlightening. It's really breaking it down, baby steps, explaining to people what, as a studio, what it entails. But more importantly, that you are winning, that you are doing well, that you are being recognized, that you are, as you said, a multi-award winning studio. It's not just, we try and let's see what happens. We understand that it comes with privilege. And that's a big concern because we really need to make the resources more available, as you are all saying. For us at the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival, as you know, this is our 5th anniversary, but we've been working in the sector of children and youth media since 1993. Some of you weren't even born then, but that's how long we've been working. And Shorin, really,
all of us.
Children should see, hear, and express themselves, their languages, their cultures, and their life's experiences through the electronic media that reaffirms their sense of self, community, and place. And I am really very excited by what you are doing. If the playing fields were leveled, I would give you all the money, all the resources, whatever you needed for you to become those faces. But I think you are that. I think you have proven yourselves. And we wish you all the very, very best for the future. And let's hope when we get back here next year that we'd be able to say that indeed, look at them, they are the ones, and everybody will be following you. So thank you so much, Spacesalad. Thank you for being part of our conversation today, for inspiring us, for leading the way, for helping us understand this very exciting sector of gaming. Thanks and good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.